Hello on a whim, listeners, and welcome to episode 9 of season 2. And I'm thinking I'm locking myself into saying it that way, right? The episode and then the season number. I think that's the trend I'm going with, but I might surprise you next time. This is Paul Vella. I'm one of your co-hosts.
And I'm Jabari Lewis Smith, the other co-host.
And
I know, but it sounds bad, but I'm the other one right now. The one that you already mentioned.
Exactly.
Still co-host.
You are you are also the co-host.
Yeah. I'm also a host.
Right. So, yes, we're both co-hosts technically. So, a little follow-up from last week. We talked about marketing. And we talked about Jabari's craft, right? Jabari, we talked some crap on other companies and how they market. And here's some just bold marketing facts. And Jabari, you tell me how you feel about these statements. The PlayStation, right? The PS5. 1 in 4 of are new PS owners. So that means 25% of people who own a PS5 never owned a PS4. What do you think of that?
Bravissimo. That's success that you want to see. 25% additional profit. Oh my gosh. Compared to the previous year or previous console. That's amazing. Well, actually, no, it's not the previous. It's actually, it's just stating that new individuals are buying this system. So that's
right.
Yeah. Finding new market is usually really hard to do. And they're doing it fantastically. They're freaking owning it.
I mean, 75% retention rate already, right? Because you kind of count on those customers kind of thing. Like they bought the last one.
Yeah.
They'll buy the next one, right? So, and then 25% of those people are first time, right? And half of those are new to PlayStation Plus. So it means they've decided to upgrade from the basic membership for PlayStation to the Plus. Now they're making money on top of that. So now they're backing up they're making up for the consoles, right? As Jabari taught me a few episodes back, consoles are made usually at a loss and are sold at a loss, right? So that's news to me. Jabari taught me something, and he continues to do that. So yeah, that's a marketing, real life marketing there. That number might have adjusted since that announcement was made by the Sony CEO, Sony president. I get confused with those titles, right? President versus CEO. I don't know anymore. I'm just here for entertainment. Also here in the background lurking is Shadoe, our wonderful audio engineer. Shouts out Shadoe. Thank you for making us sound audible. And thank you for the whole team supporting us, artists like Lucia, and you, the listener who has been tuning in to On a Whim. So appreciate you. Thank you for being here. So Jabari, how's your stonks?
Oh man, they're not gonna ask me about my stonks. My stonks. Oh, I gotta look at it actually right now. Let me pull it up. Last time I looked at it, it was not looking good. Oh, pretty lady. Last time I looked at it, it was not looking good. I think I lost like $50 in my stonks.
So I'm gonna self-disclosure. I've done some chasing this past week that first of all, we are not financial advisors. Do not take for any of this with a grain of salt. Please don't. I'm not going to jail for. I just like the stock. I just like to dabble. I've chased some stocks these last couple weeks, and I have learned my lesson. I think I'm down. Nothing substantial, but I'm down an amount of money that I shouldn't be down. So I've learned my lesson. So bad Paul. Don't go chasing stocks. Don't go chasing waterfalls. Right. I should have learned from that Little River Band. Right. So yeah, but it was a bad week. I'm hoping Monday we get some news from Congress, I think the COVID stimulus package is getting ready to get passed as of this record session. So we might see a little bit of a run up on a lot of these stocks we have. So,
yeah, we'll see. Yeah, because a lot of money to businesses and that New Deal, money to Americans, and yeah, we'll see how that goes. Dollar bills,
y'all. Exactly. Yeah, every little bit helps, and I, shouts out to people still trying to make it work and all this, and it's only. I appreciate your fight, so keep on keeping on. So we teased our first topic in the last episode, right? We teased our parents in video games, right? When the camera pans over someone and the shot, let's just say, is very flattering. Jabari just going through his business portfolio was like, ooh, pretty lady. So I kind of want to spend some time with this episode talking about our upbringings, right? Yeah, me and Jabari, very different. I don't know how different upbringings, but we both experienced that growing up in a house with parents that had different ways of looking at video games. So I don't know, Jabari, you want to go first, sharing about your
I want to say, because I want you to go first, because my parents were really, really, really lenient on video games.
Okay.
So I want to hear your story.
So I mean,
it's going to be a big difference.
My mom was a mixed bag, right? So my first console was the original Nintendo, but it was like just in its last, like I gotta use one. And you know how the Nintendo, the original NES, had a very high mortality rate. And there's my dog barking in the background. So listeners, if you hear the dog barking, I apologize. I can't stop her. I've tried. So my next console after that was a Super Nintendo. And the first and only game I got for Super Nintendo was Super Mario All-Stars. And all my mom saw on the screen at that time was just Mario, right? Mario jumping up, jumping down, top of Goomba, me getting mad I fell off the ledge again, the princess in your nether castle, that kind of frustration, right? But for the most part, it was fairly innocent, right? My mom's like, his grades are good. I'm not really worried about it, right? So she just let it go. I know my my aunt was like, oh, that's how it starts. First, they get into video games, and next thing you know, they're gambling. And like my aunt had I know my aunt was interesting with me when I was growing up. She had ideas. She was going to college at the time. So, the liberalization of colleges, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, as I grew up and my interest went towards shooters, right? So the next one was like Medal of Honor. For the GameCube. I was a Nintendo kid growing up. So, Medal of Honor, Frontline was my first kind of shooter game, right? And that was rated T. And my mom would watch me play games. I don't know if that was your experience or not. She like sat in there and saw me play. Well, I had my Game Boy and played Pokemon. And another one of those was like people telling her, well, Mom, well, that's evil. Why are you letting your son play with evil things? And my mom's like, you mean that cute little rat? He's fine. You're being stupid. My mom was hilarious sometimes. Like, that's stupid. Don't think that way. And then as I got older and my interest in rated M games, rated T games, my mom's like, you can only play games that were age appropriate. So she took the ERCB was like the Bible to her. Like if it said rated T, I had to be a teenager before I could get it.
Man.
So unless I was at a friend's house, I could not play a rated M game. So and to the day I turned 17, and even now I got a job, and then she couldn't do anything about it, right? So for my upbringing, it was mostly sports games and Mario games, games like that, right? because it
Gotcha.
was rated M. I could not play it till I was 17. So, like, games I would play for hours, like, were probably gifts. Like, any games that were rated M were probably gifts that she just like, oh, whatever. She'll look at it and like, oh, what is this about? And sent me. So when I were playing rated M games and she watched me play, I would be very wary of what's on the screen. So even that's even me as an adult, right? I'm playing at home at my mom's house and something comes on the screen, I'm like, I hope my mom doesn't walk in during this scene like like Miranda Lawson from Mass Effect 2, right? There's a lot of gratuitous booty shots, as they're called, right? Where the camera just pans like bam right there on the booty. And I'm like, I'm uncomfortable just because my mom might walk in the room and see it.
It's nice, but I'm uncomfortable because I don't want to be
like,
seen.
Exactly. Like I'll look at it because, again, we talked about it last week. These things are where I'm a male brain, ooga booga, right? Like, why do you do this, marketers? But I know exactly why they do it, because it sells, right? As we talked about last week. So that was my experience with video games growing up. My mom was either all in for it, like, oh, whatever, he's just having fun, he's still, his grades are good, or she's like, no, you're not old enough for this yet.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I see. Shoo. I think for me personally, like, it's a little bit different. My parents were really lenient. Well, it was really my mom most of the time raising me, especially at the beginning of when I started playing video games. But yeah, I mean, whatever game that I kind of wanted, or whatever game that I pointed at, my mom would basically buy it, no matter what the ratings was or anything like that. But the thing is that I'm freaking 6-7 years old, pointing at games, right? So I'm not going to be looking at the pretty lady on the cover or anything like that. I'm looking at the cute Bandicoot or Elmo or something like that. So most of the time when I will pick out a game back in the day, it's usually a teen or lower rating for that specific game. So usually my mom didn't have to really worry about the ratings or anything like that. There was one game like on Nintendo 64 back in the day that my mom probably shouldn't have bought me, but she did anyway. And it was a game called Conker's Bad Fur Day.
That one, the infamous one.
That one where some big booby sunflower is present, and you have to jump onto those big knockers to get to a ledge where there's money at the top of it. It's just all bad.
Or the giant poo.
That's the
great
best
mighty poo.
me.
Yeah, exactly.
I love that. But yeah, my mom bought that game for me when like it first came out, because I think one of my friends suggested it to me back then, and I was like, oh, that seems fun. And I mean, it's just on the cover, it's a squirrel. Yeah, it's a squirrel, and then I think there's like a rabbit or something on it, so it looks innocent. But it's a rated M game, and
for a reason.
Yeah.
Conker's Bad Fur Day deserved the M rating.
Yeah, they did. But the funny thing is, when I played through that game back then, I didn't know what was going on. Like, I saw the sunflower with big boobs and stuff like that, but I was so young that, that stuff didn't really interest me and stuff. So it's like, oh, okay, it's just a sunflower. I don't know why we had to jump on these green bloom things, but okay, there's money right there, so let's do it. But as you grow up playing it, and you start learning things, and hormones start kicking in, and then it's like, oh, I remember there was a lot of cussing in that game, but it was bleeped out, and in order to unbleep it, I think you have to beat the game or something like that, and it takes me and my brother a long time to beat any game at that age. But yeah, when it comes to games, my mom was really lenient on what I bought, and I would play Tony Hawk Pro Skater, not NASCAR's, something else. The other one, Gran Turismo.
Nice.
And yeah, I told you I'm an Earl, and I was really into Nintendo games. You know, there's Pokemon, and also PlayStation was a big thing in my life. Jack and Daxter, and all those good games. But most of the games that I played were rated teen, and they were pretty clean. And I didn't get into like shooting games until much later, when I was probably around like 13 or 14. So it was kind of like appropriate at the time. And, you know, it doesn't make me want to kill anybody or anything like that.
Yeah, you listening, government?
Right? Yeah. I never thought about doing that, but it did increase my competitiveness against other players online. I think that's probably the worst thing that I did. But yeah, that's basically how I grew up with my parents with video games. My mom wouldn't really sit down and watch games with me or anything like that, so she didn't really know exactly what was going on. But sometimes I can ask her, like if I'm playing a game now, because a lot of games get recycled and renewed or new versions. Like she'll be like, "Oh, that's Spyro," or she'll probably screw up the whole name, like
right.
That's Crush Bandicoot, right? Or something like that. But like she's looking, but she's not paying attention too much. But everything was fine and dandy. Was a good boy.
Was there ever a time where your mom said something that you're like, you were paying attention? What else have you seen? Kind of thing.
Let's see. Nothing too serious or anything like that. You know, when it comes to like sexual things, I did not talk to my mom about that.
Sure.
There was one time, like it's really awkward to talk about like sexualizations with her, because you know it's just your mom. You don't talk about that. I did make a joke like 2 days ago, because she brought me this French bread that I wanted. I couldn't go out to the store to get it because I kept going to work and the stores are closed by the time I get out.
French bread.
Yeah, French bread. And I was going to make pizza and stuff. But I couldn't find the time to actually use it. So eventually French bread gets hard, right? And what does it look like when it gets hard? Or yeah, and I told my mom, "Wow, this French bread is as hard as mine." And, and
hey,
she looked at me.
At least, yeah.
And she looked at me, and I looked at her. I was like, "Oh shit! I can't believe that I just said that out loud."
I said that to my mother.
Yeah, and she looked at me, and she's like, "What?" I was like, "I'm not repeating what I just said." And she just started dying. It's like, "Did you just say that this French bread?" I'm like, "Yeah." Let's not talk anymore about that.
So, okay, so you don't feel bad. I have an awkward story too. So, and Pokemon Gold was the Gen 2, right? And that's when they introduced breeding, where you can take 2 Pokemon to the breeder, and then you get an egg, right? You get a Pokemon egg. And I was getting mad because at the time, I didn't understand the mechanics of Pokemon breeding, where if the male is a species and the female is a species, the egg will always be of the female species. I think that's how that works. Don't quote me. Maybe. And so I was mad. My Typhlosion and a Ponyta I caught were not making other Cyndaquils. They're just making Ponytas. And I don't know how old I was, 10, 11. And I was verbalizing them. Like my mom's like, "I saw you getting frustrated playing your game. What's happening?" And I explained to her, I keep getting these eggs that aren't the Pokemon I wanted. And she's like, "What do you mean you keep getting these eggs?" So I explained to her in my best way I could at the time what I did. And she's like, "Oh, we need to have a talk." And and you can only imagine the talk that happened from there. Speaking of awkwardness with your mom, right? I mean,
oh man,
yeah. Why are Pokemon eggs coming from the breeder? That was, I don't remember. Pokemon Gold made that talk happen. So that's
Oh man, that is great. Oh my god.
So when Paul did not get the birds and the bees, he got the Cyndaquils and the ponytails.
Oh man, that's so great. That's cute too.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm trying to remember back to when we had the talk with my parents, and we never had it. By the time that my dad gained the courage to talk to me and my brother and my cousin at the time about the birds and the bees, we already we're already like 13 and 14, and it was just we're just like he came in and he started talking, and we're like, we know what you're talking about. And I think we already know what we're good. We're good.
We know where this is going. And stop.
Yeah. And he looked at us. He was just like, "Oh, okay," and just left the room. It was pretty awkward, but we just all started laughing.
So King of the Hill makes fun of that too. Hank goes to Bobby in one episode and says, son, when boys like girls, and awkward Hank Hill, right? And he's like, well, if they do, they do too much, they might get cooties and or diseases or whatever, however Hank says it. And Bobby's like, oh, you mean like syphilis or whatever he says, right? And Hank's like, and he just walks out of the room really quickly, like. So I just figure the African American version of Hank Hill trying to talk to you about the birds and the bees. That's what I pictured.
Oh man, basically, shoot.
Yeah.
To be honest, I don't even know what made him think, this is the time to do it, because we were just playing video games and stuff like that. And yeah. And
you were just chilling, and he's like, well, this is as good a time as any.
Yeah.
Right? So I mean, when I'm a parent and I have to have that talk with whoever my child is, I don't know how much more they will know than me by that point, because internet and kids growing up, and it's definitely a different ball game these days. But you mentioned playing games with your brother, right? Are any good memories of any specific video games of you and your brother overcoming, or any, like anything like that comes to mind? Yeah.
So playing video games, my brother's only a year younger than me, so we basically did everything together when we were little. And once we got engaged with video games, that was basically both of our lives for a long time.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
To this
grades, day. Yeah. We never got good grades or anything, but the thing that my mom liked about video games was that once we turn it on, we'll shut up. We won't be running around the house. We'll shut up, sit down, and play this game and not do any bad. So yeah, basically me and my brother always play video games, whatever it was. A lot of times we'll play Nintendo games. A big one was The Legend of Zelda. My brother, Ocarina of Time, my brother could not read, and I was he couldn't read that well, and I was much, much better at reading. And because it's all text, it's a lot of critical thinking for Zelda games, trying to figure out where you need to go. Now that I think about it now, is that the names that, like, because we can't hear, how the words are said, but for Zelda games, like, they'll name the city, like, or the town, like Hyrule, the city of Hyrule. But me and my brother will mistakenly pronounce it as like Harold, or like there's like these bushes or these bush monsters called Deku, or Deku trees and stuff like that. And we will call it like Dooku or something like that. We just totally screw up everything. And like, he's the one who played the game, and I was the one who kind of backseat, like, talked to him. Like, I can read everything, so I would explain to him, this is what he needs to do, and he'll actually do the action. So I was like managing him, basically.
So you were the very first in-person character support. Like that.
Yeah, I was Navi, basically.
And you were, hey, listen. Hey, listen. But instead you're like, here, listen, you little.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, for The Legend of Zelda, it doesn't give you much directions on where you.
No,
really
it doesn't
need to
at all.
go.
That's
Yeah.
true.
So that's the role that I kind of played. And actually, I think that's a big reason why I still suck at video games, like coordination wise, is because I let my brother play and I just kind of talked. Like I would do the critical thinking and strategizing, and he'll do the action.
You were born to manage people, is what it sounds like to me. You listening, Amazon? He was born to manage people.
But yeah, Legend of Zelda was a big one that we used to play for hours and hours. And then the next big one that we enjoyed together a lot was like Super Smash Brothers. I think I said this story already, but
Can I share it again? Why not?
Yeah, how I got introduced to Super Smash Brothers for the Nintendo 64 was that me and my brother were at our aunt's house. We like to go outside and play and stuff, but
and your cousins who stole everything.
Yeah, man, that's a different story. But yeah, we're just outside playing, and then we hear like kids in the area because we don't know the area too much. We hear kids in the area like playing some video games. They have their windows open. They're in the house. And me and my brother decided to like sneak through the windowsill or look through the windowsill.
Jabari.
Yeah, creepy. It's pretty creepy. But we were kids. We really just wanted to make friends and stuff. Wow. Thinking about it now, I used to be super outgoing. And like I used to go door to door asking if they have like children and stuff. So
do you want to be my friend?
Yeah, basically. And that's how I made a lot of friends too back then. But going back to the story, yeah, we were looking through the windowsills and they were playing this game on Nintendo 64 and it was Super Smash Brothers. And we're just like, wow, what is this? And then every time they look back like at the windowsill, because they can't really see us because there's the windowsill. And then they're looking at the TV with their backs behind them. I mean, well, not their backs behind them.
The backs to you, yeah.
Yeah, basically. And exactly that. And so they'll sometimes look at the window and we'll duck. We'll duck under the windowsill so they can't see us. And then pop our heads back up slowly as they continue to play the game and like start talking and having fun. Eventually it got weird because they started getting silent, right, as they were playing because they knew that we were there. Mm-hmm. But eventually they just invited us inside and we played the game for the first time, and they definitely whooped our butts hard on it. But that's how I got into Super Smash Brothers. And once we figured out what the name of the game was, we said, "Mommy, can you buy us this game?" And she bought it for us.
And your mom's like, "If I get you shut up, yes."
Basically, yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that was Super Smash Brothers. We played that for years and years. And like we got to the point where like once the GameCube version came out, Melee, mm-hmm. We played it even more. We were learning how to use our shields and stuff. And there's a lot of fights with that game too between me and him. And we eventually like we went to like one tournament at, if you remember that store, Game Crazy, in the area. Yeah.
Yes.
So we went to the tournament for Melee when Brawl was first announced, and that was our first tournament and stuff, and it was fun. I think I got like 4th place. It kind of sucked. Got super emotional with the games. Like his games are really important to
of course.
Me and my brother back then.
Of course,
yeah. But yeah, all I remember is good memories with playing with my brother because we're back to back playing the games together. It wasn't until we became like teenagers where we started drifting away from each other video game wise. Like I'll stick with PlayStation or Nintendo, and he'll stick with like Xbox. He's an Xbox person.
Got it.
Yeah, and he'll play like Saints Row or whatever, and I'll play Call of Duty, and yeah, kind of drifted after that away from each other.
I mean, that'll happen of course, right? Interests change, but you still have those happy memories, right? Like I have brothers, but I didn't grow up with them, Like when I saw them when I saw my dad or whatever, right?
Mhm.
So my memories of playing video games with them was mostly Grand Theft Auto, and they mostly played. And when it was my turn to play, I just died right away because I don't know how to shoot in Grand Theft Auto, San Andreas, or whatever it was. And I didn't play those games because my mom wasn't like, Grand Theft Auto, it's rated M. It's not even why it's rated M. If she would have saw why it was rated M, even more reason not to get it, right? Because yeah. I remember growing up, I would play Grand Theft Auto, like I said, away from home, when at someone's house. And one of my favorite memories of is playing Grand Theft Auto Liberty City Stories with Grover. And by then I learned I could shoot. I know how to do controls, right?
Yeah.
So Grover would drive and I'd shoot. And we just swap the controller back and forth as needed. And I have to say that was one of the most fun experiences playing with someone. I know Grover's not my sibling, but that was one of the most memorable things. Well, he kind of is at this point. My mom pretty much adopted him, and his dad adopted me. So we're essentially siblings. But like memories I have are like of my cousin playing FIFA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I was more Madden, but I would play with them because hey, I'm over at their house, and they would kick my ass in FIFA because they're into that. It's what they played, and I didn't understand why I wasn't good at it. Right? I'm good at Madden. I'm good at FIFA, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it wasn't until as an adult, I got FIFA and started playing it, and I'm like, okay, this is how the game is played. FIFA. Like I watched soccer or football as it would be, right?
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't understand how the game was played until I played it on my own. And of course, you play against the computer, and then it's too easy. You add the difficulty, and then you get more difficulty, and then the comp starts beating you, unless you figure out the little trick for that, right?
Yeah.
So I finally started beating my cousin as an adult in FIFA, and he's an adult too, right? He's like 10 years older than me, and I started beating him reliably. Like first, it was really close games. A lot of draws, a lot of penalties, right? And now I'm starting to win. And he's like, hey, you play more, you have more time. I have a family now. I have kids. And I'm like, you son of
What was the excuse when you were little and didn't know how to play that well and you couldn't play?
Oh, I had no excuses, right? I couldn't make no excuses. He's like, oh,
yeah.
Well, when he was beating me, there was no excuses. He's like, oh, get better, scrub, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But now when I'm winning, he's like, well, I don't have time to play this anymore. And I'm like, oh. But yeah, the fun memories we have growing up with video games. And like my brother, I still every now and then we'll still play Grand Theft Auto, but online, right? And we'll go on and we'll do heists together and things like that. So the more time changes, the more things stay the same, kind of thing. But
exactly. Yeah, I think now for me, me and my brother, we actually started drifting back when the Nintendo Switch came out. He liked the game Fortnite. Out of all the games that we could have played, he liked Fortnite the best. And I bought him a Nintendo Switch, and he's like, "This game is so great." I'm like, "Fortnite? Like, it seems like it's out of his style and stuff like that." But like now, like we play every weekend,
nice.
Fridays and Saturdays now, and it's kind of, he lives in Las Vegas, I live in California, so the distance is there, but like it always brings back those good memories when we did play together, and have fun, and sometimes go out in full brawls fighting each other because of the game. You
go from the game to in-person fighting.
Yeah,
you just make that leap.
Yeah, there's a couple bookshelves flipped over. There's a couple controllers thrown down really hard.
Yep.
Either each other or on the system itself, making a hole. Oh, it was crazy.
But like, yeah. So it sounds like your parents, or your mom in this case, so same with me, my mom, were generally supportive of our playing video games, right? Like for your mom, it was just like, hey, it's keeping them quiet. I don't care. They're out of my hair, right?
Mhm.
Like for my mom, it was like, oh, he's got good grades. He's got to have fun somehow. He's not very athletic. I get it. Just like, but like, I don't know how is it for your parents now as adults. Did my mom at some point figured I would outgrow it? Like, her expectations, I need to have a family, I need to do all this, but Paul's happy. Paul was living his best life until COVID happened, right? I mean, I think that's generally the same for everybody. But for the most part, she figured I would have outgrown it by now. Do you feel that way coming from your mom or your dad about, where you should be, how video games play into your future?
I'm pretty sure they didn't think that I would stick with games and with games for so long, but I tell them almost just about everything. I told them, working at the studio, making video games, and they're like, oh wow. He took video games and tried to make it a part of his life. And so I think they definitely didn't think I'll stick with it for so long, but they saw, what I was doing, and they're like, oh, okay. That's cool. Do you. And it's been cool. Like, yeah, I think they probably understand that they probably were okay with like me playing video games and stuff like that, but they probably didn't expect me to continue to watch like cartoons and stuff on TV so religiously. I still watch anime, regular kids TV shows that pop up on Cartoon Network, like the Adventure, The Wonderful Life or Adventure of Gumball. That's like my favorite one on Cartoon Network right now. Like the stuff that from childhood that I enjoyed, I still enjoy today. And now since I'm bigger and stronger, smarter, maybe.
Damn. I'm messing with you.
Well, since I'm a little bit smarter than I was before when I was a kid.
Absolutely.
What? That's true. Right? Oh well. Since then, now I'm smart enough to try to make it a part of my life in some way.
Sure.
And a lot of people, like I see lots of friends, they used to play video games when they're little, and they're like, oh yeah, they were cool, but now, I'm into butts and, raising families and my kids and stuff, and they kind of lose that those interests that they had as kids, and it's replaced with work. And
so let me ask you this. Now you brought up families and kids, right? So if you ever have kids, how would you handle that? Would you be kind of like how your mom was, like, hey, as long as they're quiet and minding their manners and not killing each other, they can play whatever? Or like my mom, where like I'm gonna buy things that are age appropriate. I'm gonna keep an eye on it, and then have these conversations where applicable, right?
You know what, bro? I'm gonna be the one playing with them. I'm gonna be, hey, you want to play this game with me?
Right.
So,
right. Absolutely.
I'm gonna be the one buying the games for them and trying to make them play. Are you interested in this? Play with me. I don't know. I'm not gonna. I wouldn't be too strict with like mature games and stuff like that. I think no. Okay, I'm lying. I'll look at the mature rating and see what they have and what type of game it is. And, we have the internet that we can use to do all the research. But, it will be like if they're a teenager trying to play a mature game, I think that's fine. But if they're 6 years old, 7, 8 years old, trying to play this, like hugely sexual game, there's a lot of games out there. There's this one on PlayStation that my cousin used to play all the time.
What's the name of the game that the girls in the bikinis play volleyball? What's that game called?
Is that Dead or Alive or Alive?
Dead or Alive bikini volleyball, whatever that's called. Like if my kid wants to play that game, I'm going to be asking a lot of questions.
Yeah. Like I would have let them play a game like that. I don't
like. Let me buy you Mario
sexualization of-
Tennis. It's exactly the
There
same
you
thing.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, Peach is wearing tennis outfit. That's close enough, right? Like,
Yeah, isn't that nice?
isn't that nice?
Clean.
Exactly, right? Like, I mean, just some things on like middle school students playing Grand Theft Auto just completely unsupervised. Like, I'm like, what are your parents thinking? Like, because even I'm uncomfortable playing Grand Theft Auto sometimes, right? I know in Grand Theft Auto 5 there's a torture scene, and I'm like,
Ooh.
ooh, this is rough. Or Call of Duty, not Black Ops, Call of Duty 2, Modern Warfare 2, was a scene you're attacking killing civilians in an airport. I mean, just like, kids won't understand the context of this, right?
Mhm.
And I think you said it earlier the best, hey, I played video games and I don't feel like killing anybody, right? But I feel like it was framed for us, right? Like, for example, I played like I said earlier, I call it Medal of Honor Front Lines.
Mhm.
And it teaches the story of D-Day, right? So your soldier has a mission, but first you got to get to where the mission is. You have to stop these German rockets from launching, or whatever it was, right? The V2 program. So it's historically accurate, and parts of the game is you just happen to be there when these important historical events are happening, right?
Yeah.
And one of the things was called Operation Market Garden, which was the plan to end World War II before Christmas of 1943, when D-Day happened, or 1944, sorry, where the year D-Day happened. And I learned from Call of Duty, yes, I'm killing German Nazi soldiers, right? Yes, it's happening, but it's within this historical this happened. This isn't fantasy. And then my mom would be like, okay, what were you playing? What was your mission? What was going on? And then whatever I said back to her was above her historical knowledge, right? She's like, I never studied U.S. history because she was born in Peru. So she's like, oh, that sounds good. So I'm learning from it, right? So, but then Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, first of all, it's Modern Warfare. So what does attacking civilians in an airport have to do with modern military operations? Like, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So there's no framing device in my opinion. So I would to answer my own question, I would do like my mom, making sure it's age appropriate. Yeah, it's rated M, but why is it rated M? Mm-hmm. Oh, hardcore nudity. Yeah, you're not playing this game, mijo. Just
hardcore nudity. There's hardcore and then there's hardcore nudity.
Well, the reason why I said it that way, it's from an episode of The Simpsons, when the episode's ending, Troy McClure is like, now we will end the night with what you're all here to see. Hardcore nudity. And then the next was like a gag reel of all the times, The Simpsons showed like butt cracks and
oh man.
Like Bart as a baby twirling on a clothesline naked. And then the song in the background was playing was called Shake, Shake, Shake. Shake
that way. Oh man.
So yeah. So that's what I was going off of. But yes, if the rating is rated M for nudity, I'm gonna be like, maybe Mijo shouldn't play this game yet. Let's or violence like killing civilians or things like that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just everything's gotta be within context and everything's gotta be within reason, right? But I'm not gonna impose my beliefs on somebody else, right? I know we have as of last time I looked into it, there is a bill in one of the state's congresses or state assemblies that would outlaw games for specific reasons, like make them worse than AO, like they're banning them.
Oh man.
Which is what other governments do. Australia does refuse classification where their ESRB, I forget what it's called. I think it's Peggy. I'm not sure. Don't quote
Mhm.
me.
Yeah.
They will rated games would rate them, either E for everyone, T for teen, M for mature, or 18 plus or whatever it is, right?
Hmm.
And then the death one is the refuse classification, right? You cannot sell this game in this country. Now there's a way around it. You can buy games online and then they ship them to you, which they can't technically stop. But so it's not uncommon that this happens. But we're Americans. We have rights and we have free will, and we're gonna, walk and chew bubblegum at the same time. So yeah. Those are just very different ways of looking at it. But what it sounds like, we had a similar yet different upbringing when it comes to parents and video games.
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of cool and to listen to and see. Sometimes we're not that far. We're not far dissimilar from each other, right?
Yeah.
So let me ask you this: did playing a particular video game or specific video game make you look at things differently? Like, for example, Assassin's Creed for me. You go back in time, right? You relive your memories. And part of Assassin's Creed was this overarching, the Templars, which are like the Illuminati stand-ins, one world, we have to rule over everyone, the perpetual bad guys versus the assassins, which everyone's free, in our anarchic peace, right? No one can take too much control. Mm-hmm. And then these two groups have been fighting forever. But what it made me think was how something like that could happen. So, for example, like science that could happen, but it hasn't happened yet. It just hasn't worked. Like, for example, an example within an example. We're 4 deep now in examples, right? If you move enough atoms in something, you can walk through it. Because if you walk the atoms are mostly empty space, right? Mm-hmm. So in theory, you can walk through something if you move the particles that make it solid. So Assassin's Creed was very much that way for me. Like, what if this is happening? What if there are historical events that have to do with, this phenomenon going on, right? So maybe it helped me critically think more, like kind of like open my eye into seeing what's really happening. And, fact can be stranger than fiction. But what about you, Jabari? Any video games like that had that kind of influence?
Oh man. I mean, like in the same context as that, I don't think so, because that's like really hardcore thinking of like cults and all that stuff. What could happen in real life? Futuristic games, it's like, oh, this could happen. Are we going towards this technology? But for me, most games that I enjoy are probably not too heavy in terms of looking at the world changing. For me, like, my hands down favorite video game of all time is The Legend of Zelda. And it has had a major influence on the way that I think, how I look at myself, on the principles that I have. And yeah, the more and more times I think of it, I'm like, or different things that I do or the way that I am, sometimes it derives just from that Legend of Zelda game, Ocarina of Time, playing years ago on to it. And from now on, like Link, the character Link, I didn't really have much of a role model when I was little. But Link definitely was one of those role models that kind of, like, he didn't step up or anything, but he was someone that I saw as a huge role model, and I really wanted to be like Link. Like, I wanted, like, his strength. I wanted the wits that he has. I wanted the abilities to do all these different things, and ultimately complete your goals to go to, like, save the princess or something like that.
So
when it comes
really,
to, like, love,
really stupid question.
Mm.
Is Link the chosen one, or did he just happen to be able to pull the sword at the right time?
I've good question. I don't know. I'm not sure what the lore to it. I think it's heavily based off of the sword and the stone.
Mm-hmm.
Ordeal is definitely derived from that. I think they actually admit that. But
Okay.
apparently in that time, in the Link times, he is the person. He is the hero time. He's the chosen one. He's one of few. He's the individual that holds one of the three chosen powers that are bestowed upon specific characters like Ganon and Zelda,
Sure.
the
The
Triforce stuff. Yeah.
Triforce. Roll crits. So maybe for me, it's more or less of the hero of a story, right? Who isn't, chosen by destiny or by God or by Ganon or whatever, right? The Triforce. For me, the heroes I relate to the most are the ones that are just happen to stumble into something and they rise to the occasion. Like even Assassin's Creed, right? I mentioned it earlier. Desmond, the reason why he's the protagonist is because these are his memories that we relive in the first three, Assassin's Creed 1, 2, and 3, right? Or like maybe that's why I like Mass Effect so much, because your character, you make him, right? You choose his background and you can choose whether, he was a war hero and he rose to the, you meet your moment. And I think that makes me into the video games more like someone who just happens to stumble into this, as opposed to somebody who has been chosen to do this, right?
Yeah. I think that's
Like,
a big thing with destiny and free will. It's like, what side do you believe in? And yeah, I'm not sure do you believe in destiny or do you believe in free will, or both, or a combination? Or
I believe in a combination, actually. Good question. I believe that I was meant to be a school counselor. I believe I was meant to be your friend and working here at the studio. And like, I believe that everything in life happens for a reason. That's just me personally. But also I have the free will to respond to that. And I have choices of who I want in my life and who I want to, maintain those relationships. And I have choices. Like, I had a choice to buy that stock, and the consequence was that stock going up or the stock going down, right? I mean, there's only so much you have control of. So I don't know. What about you, Jabari?
I remember writing a paper on this in college, and it was
still like, I remember this. Yeah.
But yeah, I think I go more along the lines of free will, but like I can never prove that there isn't destiny or anything like that, or there's no such thing as destiny, because I always felt that I have the power to make my own choices, but what I don't know what my destiny is. I can never really figure out like who can figure out their destiny, like where you're going to be in the next 20 years or so. All you can really do is make choices of where you think you want to go, and make your goals and try to go for it, and then see what happens. Like I didn't expect to be going to Washington, to Amazon, to work there. Always expected that I was going to be an actor in LA, and that was going to be my life, but I didn't take that route. But based off the choices that I made, it kind of ended up being that, and also circumstances that are happening outside of my control. But what my ultimate destiny is, do I have a destiny? I don't think so. But if there is destiny that I have, if there is a destiny that I do have, I have no idea what it is, and all I can really do is wait for it to occur at that point. So I continue to do my own thing and see where it leads me to.
So my biggest evidence of destiny is I'll be honest, it's our friendship. Because look at this. How did we meet? We met through Grover, right?
Mhm.
How did I meet Grover? Was on happenstance in high school, in the library, met through a mutual friend of me and Grover's, and he introduced me. This is Grover. Hi, I'm Grover. You know Grover's deadpan. Hi, I'm whatever his voice, however you want to make that sound.
Uh-huh.
I can't imitate Grover's voice. And in that
It
moment,
sounds a little bit more goofy, but
oh, I don't know how he was in high school. I forget.
Oh,
That was over 10 years ago. So,
yeah.
He's used to hearing Grover the Muppet, but with Paul being the different child that he was, I said, "Oh, like the president," and he's like, "Yes, exactly like the president." And what if I answered like everyone else? Like, what if I answered, "Oh, like the Muppet," and I'm sure we wouldn't be as close friends as we are now.
Yeah, shoot, he probably would have been mad. I think he
probably would have got mad, and I probably wouldn't have been his friend, and I wouldn't have made the studio, and I probably would have met you still, but I don't think we would have gone as close as we have.
Yeah,
if it wasn't for the studio, right? So just that one little thing. So all these things had to happen perfectly for that to happen.
Exactly.
And so at the end of the day, I know I have free will, but then there's some things that are absolutely out of my control, and all I can do is just rise to the occasion and make people proud. I think that's all we can do sometimes, right?
Yeah, shoot, man, it's crazy. It's a lot to think of, and it's like, what is the meaning of life? What is the meaning of your life specifically? And
it's such a common question. They make fun of it so often. Red versus Blue, Rooster Teeth. Their first episode is one of the characters asking another, "Why are we here?" And the other one's like, "That's the question, huh? Are we just a product of life's cosmos, or is there really a plan?" And the guy's like, "No, I mean, why are we here in this gulch?" Right? And he's like, "Oh." And he's like, "Do you want to talk about it?" "No."
That's hilarious. That's great writing right there.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the starting of how Rooster Teeth, made it big. And I know I butchered that quote, and I know some people, listeners, I'm sorry. I'll make up for it eventually. But yeah, Jabari, that would be the question, and maybe we'll get it answered one day, and maybe we won't. But what I do know is Jabari, you'll be going on a little bit of a hiatus from On a Whim for a while.
Yeah, I think
gotta make that move to Washington. So
gotta make that move. It's time.
So it is time. So Jabari will be stepping away from On a Whim for a little bit of a hiatus. We will be bringing in some different co-hosts. They're not replacing Jabari, because Jabari is irreplaceable. I maintain that. So they're going to come in and take over the co-hosting role for a while. But Jabari will still be in the background, uploading the episodes. Every Tuesday, expect a On a Whim episode, unless you hear otherwise. And then Jabari will be back in time for maybe an episode or two before the season finale of season 2. So I've thoroughly enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, Jabari.
Yeah, it was fun.
My childhood, your childhood. So listeners, I hope you enjoyed this stroll as well, from little creeper Jabari to Paul's awkward talk with his mom and Pokemon breeding. So I want to thank you all for being here. Go ahead and rate us 5 stars if you enjoyed this time with us, if you enjoyed this stroll. We're on different podcast media, so find us wherever podcasts are sold. Is that the verbiage?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Or something. Yeah, we're on the major
something
ones,
like
so
yeah, all the major ones. So
yeah,
I will see you, or I will be talking to you, listeners, on the next episode, and then you'll be listening from Jabari soon enough. But until then, I'm Paul Vela.
And I'm Jabari Lewis Smith.
And this has been the On the Whim podcast. Keep it nerdy.